They live in a world of narratives, carefully crafted scripts in which they are always the hero, the victim, or the one in control. Everyone in their life becomes a character in that story, serving a role that feeds their ego. You too were once written into their script, perhaps as the admirer, the helper, the one who needed saving, or the one who never quite measured up. It is through these roles that they maintain power. But when you rise above that role, when you rewrite yourself as someone strong, joyful, and free, you don't just step out of their story, you dismantle it. For a narcissist, control over the narrative is everything. They manipulate perception, twist truths, and rewrite history to appear justified. They thrive on defining what others think of you, and more importantly, what you think of yourself. That is why your happiness is such a profound threat to them. Happiness is living proof that their version of you was a lie. They told you that you were too emotional, too sensitive, too unstable, too weak to stand on your own. Your calm joy completely contradicts that narrative. You become the living contradiction of their entire illusion. And for a narcissist, being proven wrong is intolerable. They will go to great lengths to maintain their story, gaslighting, guilt-tripping, or even spreading slander about you to protect their fragile self-image. Because if you are no longer broken, they can no longer play the savior. If you are no longer dependent, they are no longer superior. Your transformation removes the foundation of their identity. It is not just that they lose control over you. They lose control over how they see themselves. Your happiness dismantles their fantasy of importance. It proves you never needed their approval to heal, that their influence was never as powerful as they imagined. It forces them to face a truth they have spent a lifetime avoiding. They do not define reality, not yours, not anyone's. For someone whose entire survival depends on controlling the narrative, that is devastating. It is a collapse of internal order, a shattering of the illusion of dominance. That is why they often try to re-enter your life after you've healed, not out of love, but desperation to reclaim the story. They might appear with apologies or nostalgia, trying to pull you back into the old script. You've changed. You're not the same person I knew. What they really mean is, you're not playing your role anymore. They want the old dynamic restored, where you sought, proved, and apologized. But when you stand in peace, when you no longer react emotionally, the story no longer works. The narcissist becomes a character without a stage. This moment is deeply symbolic. It is where illusion meets truth, where performance meets authenticity. Narcissists rely on others to maintain identity. You rely on truth. They live in fiction. You live in reality. When your happiness comes from self-awareness, it is not just emotional recovery. It is rebellion against falsehood. It is rewriting your own story in your own voice. And that terrifies them because they know the moment you take control of your narrative, they can never manipulate it again. The most painful blow to a narcissist is not rejection, it is irrelevance. Rejection acknowledges their existence, but irrelevance erases it. When you move forward confidently, when your focus is no longer proving anything to them, you make them invisible in your world. They go from author of your emotional reality to forgotten footnote. That quiet indifference cuts deeper than any confrontation. Your happiness does more than end their control. It exposes the truth about love itself. Love isn't supposed to feel like walking on glass. It isn't meant to be earned through sacrifice or maintained through fear. It is supposed to be peaceful. Narcissists hate your happiness because it represents the kind of peace they cannot create. a peace that doesn't rely on dominance but on authenticity. And the more they see you thriving, the more they must face that truth. Eventually, the narcissist retreats into denial or bitterness, telling themselves you've changed, that you have become cold or arrogant. Deep down, they know the truth. They know you have grown while they have remained the same. They know your laughter, calm, and renewed confidence are signs of strength, not cruelty. They know, even if they never admit it, that your story continues without them. That is the ultimate power you hold. Not revenge, not superiority, but the quiet authority of self-definition. You have taken back the pen. You have reclaimed your voice. You have turned their fiction into your awakening. And every time you smile, every time you move forward with grace and confidence, you remind them the story they wrote about you was never true. You were never the broken character they imagined. You were always the author. The fifth truth is that narcissists hate seeing you happy and confident because it represents something they can never truly possess: emotional freedom. They live in psychological cages of their own making, built from fear, insecurity, and a relentless need to control how others see them. Their identity is fragile, reflective, easily shattered by truth. Every time you grow stronger, calmer, more content, it reminds them of the life they are trapped from, a life of authenticity, humility, and peace. That enrages them. Emotional freedom is the ability to exist without seeking validation, to stand firm in your worth regardless of who notices. For most people, that is the essence of maturity. For narcissists, it is alien. They rely entirely on external validation. Every compliment, every glance of admiration, every ounce of attention is oxygen for their fragile ego. Without it, they feel invisible, irrelevant, powerless. When they see you happy without their approval, without attention, without their existence mattering, it triggers the deepest insecurity, the fear of being nothing. Your happiness contrasts dependence with freedom. While they chase applause, you find peace and silence. While they act powerful, you embody strength and humility. While they perform, you simply are. That terrifies them because it reveals something they cannot escape. Real confidence comes from within, not from control. They despise your confidence because it exposes them. Narcissists hide behind personas: the charming lover, the brilliant thinker, the misunderstood victim, anything to mask emptiness. Confidence born from healing doesn't need masks. You move differently. You speak differently. You no longer participate in their theater. They sense it immediately. Your grounded energy repels them. It makes them uncomfortable because it is unshakable. You have stepped out of the game and they no longer know how to play. What makes your freedom unbearable is the cruel irony. You found strength through the very pain they caused. They thought breaking you would keep you dependent, but it forced you to rebuild from the ground up, stronger, wiser, emotionally untouchable. That is why they hate your joy. It is not just happiness, it is proof of their failure, proof their control did not work, proof that what they tried to destroy, you rebuilt better. They may respond by pretending not to care, acting indifferent or superior, as if your peace means nothing. Do not be deceived. That is defense. Indifference is the mask of the powerless. Inside, they are disturbed by your serenity because it reflects what they lack: integration of mind and soul. You have made peace with your wounds. They remain ruled by theirs. You faced darkness and found light. They are still hiding. Narcissists don't truly hate you. They hate the reflection of themselves they see in you. When broken, you mirrored their chaos. When healed, you mirrored their failure. You become a walking contradiction to their worldview. That strength comes from dominance, love is control, validation defines worth. You show that it is possible to rise without revenge, to grow without bitterness, to live free from influence. And they cannot tolerate that. If that is true for you, it could have been true for them if they had chosen humility over ego. Your emotional freedom exposes the truth of their chains. It proves all manipulation and control were never power, only weakness. True power is self-mastery, and you have achieved it. You have mastered your emotions, boundaries, silence. You have learned that peace does not require approval. In doing so, you achieved what they will never find. When they see you happy and confident, they feel they've lost ownership of a story they once controlled. They cannot define you, predict your reactions, or weaponize your insecurities. They have lost the leash they once held. They may try to provoke you to see if the old version still exists. But when you respond with peace instead of anger, empathy instead of defense, they see that version is gone. The leash is snapped. The cage is open. That is the ultimate power of emotional freedom. It exists quietly. It doesn't need to fight, it simply is. That is why narcissists hate it. They cannot steal, fake, or destroy it. Your peace is rebellion. Your happiness is proof. Your confidence is the living reminder that they never owned you. They only borrowed your light until you learned to shine on your own. In the end, the greatest victory is not revenge, not exposure, it is peace. Narcissists thrive on chaos because it gives them power. But when you no longer react, when you no longer explain, when your happiness becomes effortless and your silence speaks louder than any argument, that is when you win. Not by proving them wrong, but by outgrowing the need to. They wanted to see you small, uncertain, dependent. Instead, they watch you walk away radiant, composed, unbothered. That image burns in their mind because it contradicts everything they tried to make you believe. They said you were weak, your healing proved otherwise. They said no one would love you, you learned to love yourself. They tried to break your spirit, and in doing so, you awakened it. When you smile now, the genuine smile rising from peace, know it is more powerful than any confrontation. T is a quiet declaration that you have reclaimed your life. Narcissists hate that, not because you hurt them, but because you have become untouchable. Your happiness is no longer theirs to destroy. Your confidence is no longer theirs to question. That is the real ending. Not vengeance, but liberation. The story closes not with war, but with freedom. And the moment you realize that they have already lost, you finally understand the power you have always carried.